And then when you go into the second one, there's a glitch. You know how it has like the bonus missions?
Yeah.
In the second one? Well, there's one where you fight the 4 knights in the arena where you can somehow glitch that one. You keep, you know where you level up and get free attribute points?
Yep.
You glitch it where you keep adding those. So, yeah. And so we made these characters that were just like I think
Okay, the Zoom session started. After we get back from spring break, is your second game. So we're going to presentation. We'll probably run into the next week presenting, but we'll try to keep them short, get everybody in. So remember, we want to see what you've got, even if what you've got is not that great, because you probably got something you want to see it. I've seen some great stuff while I'm grading that we didn't get to see this first time around. So no ice or anything in April. We should have no excuse. Everybody's got a good time. After that, our third project, there's a few weeks of, we'll work on some things out of the examples again, look at particle systems, stuff like that. Week 13, so that will be 4 weeks, is that right? Do my hard math. Week 13, we'll have a group game due. Now the teams are, or the groups are set up, but they're self-enrolled. So that means you need to find this week 13 group and enroll in a group with other people that you would like to work with. So a limit of 3 people per group, and it's self-enrolled. There's 6 groups, so that means there won't be any single groups. Nobody will be able to do that, but we will have one with 2 people. So get that set up whenever you want. I know we have a lot of people gone today, so it'll take a little while. It's not going to be any rush. It's not going to stop allowing you to do that anytime soon. So for that group presentation, we're going to do kind of the same thing as we've been doing. It's just that all 3 of you are going to work together to try to create that thing, to come up with your concepts and ideas and your assets and your code and decide how to get it all working. So that's what we want to see for that third one. That'll lead us into the last few weeks, because we're right here at midterm at spring break, which is neat that it worked out that way this semester. But at the end of the semester then, your final project, the very last Friday that we're in here, we'll present. And then you guys won't have to come that week of finals, since we're a hybrid class. That last Friday, your presentation will be our last time of class. So we'll get to see one last game from each person. So exciting. Let's look at the textbook. I want you to be thinking about which one you would like to work on for our next one, because we have some choices. I like to stick with the book, you know, because I want everybody to have examples, and our new coders in the back are using the book now to go through stuff, and so it's just a little bit easier than going off something that could change on us under our feet. But we have a lot of choices here, so be thinking about which one of these you would prefer to do, and I'll set up a survey to ask everybody, because we can certainly do whichever one you're interested in. Let's see, there's different. Bar talk is like a card game like Uno, you know. And as we're going through into this last half, do it. Look at that. Yeah, there's different ones. So this space shmup is kind of the one that I planned on, because it does particle systems and things like that. So I like it. It's a shoot, sort of a little Space Invaders kind of like the one Jay did, but different. I think all of these are 3D. You could switch, do whatever you want on your own games, but yeah, these ones will stick with 3D. It's not too 3D fancy though.
Can you hear me?
We can do whichever one you guys are interested in. But in this last half, I know that the time that you have at home, you'll be looking at different tutorials, and the tutorials on Unity's website, and I'm sure you found some YouTube videos that are really, really great, and some YouTube videoers that have good series and stuff that you like. Remember, with those YouTube people, look ahead. You know, a lot of times they'll start out with this great series that's just going to be awesome and show you exactly what you want to do. And then 2 or 3 videos in, there are no more videos and kind of leave you. So make sure it kind of has a little bit more of a finish to it, because sometimes you can be left hanging. But of course, you're going to be looking out at those. The little tanks one on Unity's website is one that a lot of people like, because it does a little bit of, you know, more action rolling around with the tanks and shooting into each other and stuff like that. So those are what you should be working on your own when you're getting prepared to work on your game. So just use your time effectively. Since we're hybrid, I know that gives you a lot more time where you have to decide how you're going to do things. So you've been doing great. All right, so let's finish this thing up. So I want to find my poor project here. Well, mine is very, very far away. Oh, we should have, let me find it. Do I?
Are you trying to get closer?
Oh, I was going to show you guys this. They finally ordered one of these, this little mixed reality headset. So if you guys want to do any sort of game that utilizes that, we should have it in another week or so, probably by the time you get back from spring break. And that's what it's for, is for you guys. So I wouldn't be able to let you just take it unless you.
Come on, I need one. I'm the one virus.
You need it to actually do it, but you would just have to test it here and see if it works. So you got one? Oh, so yeah, you can make one for us already. And then last year we had one of the games, I think the second or third one. One of the guys went ahead and generated this game for Android, and so that was really neat. So start exploring things like that you want to try, whatever you want to do. Exciting. We'll have something new for us to mess with. Okay, so yeah, how's my game? I'm going to run it. See where I am. So it's doing the stuff that I want it to. And the last thing we did was the little clouds. And remember, if you press, is it working? Supposed to, if you press space, it should regenerate those clouds or restart. I don't know if mine's working on that respect or not. Oh, you save something.
Mine's working.
And then Isaac's, it's doing weird. Did you figure it out? Huh?
Yeah.
You did? Awesome. Was it the physics material?
It was on Slingshot. I didn't have its triggers checked on its sphere plate.
Okay, great. So you found it. Good deal. Next semester, they just put on the schedule for Friday morning 3D modeling for game programming is what it's going to be called, and it'll be Blender, in mixing Blender with our Unity games. I know very little about Blender, so you guys will be learning together. Going through two. I've used Cinema 4D, was the 3D modeling and animation software that I've used before, so Blender is super fun. It'll be 3D modeling for game programming.
Oh, what semester?
Next semester in the fall. So.
So the Friday class?
Mm-hmm. That'll be our Friday morning one. So I love people creating cool stuff with computers. It's so much more visual. Duh. But it really helps, you know, it makes you feel a little bit, I don't know, more connected somehow to the technology. Is that weird? I'm weird. I guess with so many high school students over the years, I've tried to figure out things that make people feel more connected to it. Okay, let's add some code to our slingshot. What are we going to do here? I'm in the wrong place. Let me get to the right place, and then we'll add some code. What we're going to do is make more than one cloud appear. But as I mentioned, I'm not sure my clouds are actually working. So I'm going to click on my cloud, make sure my script is associated. It is. So I'm going to look at my cloud script, make sure it's all saved and everything. Well, I seem to have a good cloud script. So we're going to update it. I think I want to make sure mine is working first. Did you notice it when it started if I had a cloud? Oh, I do. I have a cloud. Okay, there's new cloud. So it is working. I had just always shot a projectile and made my clouds mess up. So in our clouds now, we'd like to have many clouds because that one cloud is cool, but we would like some more. In our restart code here in our update method was for testing. So let's comment that out. Just our if statement. Made it go crazy there. And let's make several clouds. I'm going to save all this and go to Unity. In Unity, we want to make a cloud prefab. Right now, we have our cloud sphere and our cloud material, but we never did make a cloud prefab. So I'm going to drag my cloud down to my assets area. Okay. It's acting weird. Try that again. Sometimes that Zoom session gets a little crazy. Now we want to delete our cloud instance from our hierarchy. And let's create a new empty game object. And we're going to name this Cloud Anchor. This is going to be like our anchor for all of our cloud instances so that we can keep our hierarchy tidy while the game is running. Now let's set our transform over here. We want our position on our cloud anchor to be 0, 0, 0. Let's create a new script, and this script is going to be our cloud crafter. We want our cloud crafter script to be attached to our main camera. Now, if you check your main camera, you should see that that adds a second script. Remember, we have our follow cam script already associated with our main camera. Fine, as long as the two scripts don't conflict with each other, like try to set positions of game objects to different places and stuff like that, we're okay. Our follow cam is just moving the camera, and our cloud crafter will be placing clouds so they shouldn't conflict. Now let's go ahead and edit our cloud crafter script.
Oh, you put the Cloud Crafter script in the main camera?
And we'll use their fancy header thing. I'm
Right.
not sure I like them. I guess I like them better than the things he did before. So this is going to say set an inspector. Now we have quite a few variables here. We're going to have an integer that's going to be the number of clouds that we want to generate. They set it to 40.
Tyler asks, cloud crafter goes in the main camera.
Yes. We want a game object for our cloud prefab. And of course, that'll be our cloud prefab. We want a vector3 object to hold our clouds position minimum. Now, when we are using this vector3 object here in our declaration of it, we're going to instantiate it as a vector3. So it's actually going to have a setting, and we want it to be -50, -5, and 10. Now we want to set up another vector3 that's going to be our maximum. And again, we're going to instantiate it so that it has values 150, 100, and 10. Now to further customize our clouds, we want a float variable to hold our minimum scale, cloud scale min, and we're going to set that to 1. And we want, oh, thank you, sir. We want a maximum. Getting a lot of nice blank lines here. Too many. And then one more float for our cloud speed multiplier. So we can have some clouds just flying across the sky. You guys can make it look like there's a tornado or something if you want. Now we need an array of game objects. So we're going to set up this game object array. And those are the square brackets, you guys. Open and close square brackets that indicate to C# that we're going to have multiple instances of game objects in this variable. And our array's variable name is going to be cloud instances. So we keep track of all of our different clouds that we generate in this array so that we can control them. Now, we don't need a start method, but we would like to have an awake method. So as we begin, we're going to set up our array. And they say make an array that's large enough to hold all the clouds instances. And how many instances we're going to have, we set with our variable num clouds. We could just code that and have it hard-coded in our array setup, but then we wouldn't be able to change it dynamically using the inspector, and we'd like to be able to do that. So we're going to set our cloud instances array equal to a new array instance of game objects. And how big that array is going to be set by our num clouds variable. So now we've said, oh, we're going to have 40 of these clouds. I need you to make a list that's 40 long so I can keep track of all of them. Next, we're going to find the cloud anchor, anchor, parent game object. It's going to kind of hold all of our clouds. We're going to declare a new game object called anchor. Hold our cloud anchor instance. So what we're going to do, this is a cool thing that we can do in Unity, is we can tell Unity to go find that cloud anchor instance. It's out there in memory somewhere. We didn't create it in this script. We would like to go find it and associate it with this variable name or this object name, anchor. So now we're referring to that instance. So now this script has access to that object instance. Now we're going to iterate or loop through to make cloud instances. So let's start our for loop. Now our loop is going to be controlled by an integer named I that we're going to initialize to 0. And we want to run our loop while I is less than the number of clouds we wanted. So again, that's the size of our array. We set it to 40. So while it's less than 40, we're going to execute our loop. Each time we execute our loop, we want to increment the value of I. I'm going to go ahead and put a comment on this closing curly brace. That's the end of our for loop. Okay, so within our for loop then, in our loop body, we're going to first of all make an instance of our cloud prefab. I want the word just cloud. Cloud equals, and then we're going to use our instantiate function, which is just awesome. And we want to instantiate a game object. And what game object do we want to instantiate? Our cloud prefab. So throw a cloud out there. If you feel like Bob Ross, it's going to be a happy cloud, a happy, happy cloud. You guys could have your forest with trees and happy clouds popping up around you. Like a Bob Ross game, everybody would love it. All right, so we have our cloud created. Let's position it. So we're going to create a vector3 variable to do that. Let's call it CPOS, and we're going to set it to vector 3.0. Now we had trouble with this statement last time, didn't we? We ended up having to set it to vector 3 with our 3 zeros in our parameter. Like that. Which is a bummer because that .0 is pretty handy. Let's set our X location to a random setting. So we're going to use the random.range, and we're going to use our cloud position minimum variable and our cloud position maximum variable. Remember, we set those up in our class variables, and we said they were vector 3, and we gave them values, so we can access those X values for those minimum and maximum vector 3 settings. All right, so now that's going to give us a random number between the range of our minimum and our maximum X. Does that make sense? We're looking at those. We want to do the same thing with our Y. Make sure you're using your Y property for your Y random range. Now we want to scale our cloud. And we're going to use a float variable named scale u. And this one is just going to totally be a random value. We're going to create another float variable called scale val. And we saw last time that that lerp function gave us kind of an easing, as they call it, like a happy mid-range point between a couple of points so that we could move smoothly from one location to another. So we want to use our cloud position minimums y value, our new cloud position y value that we just randomly generated, and our new scale u value that we just randomly generated. And with those three items together, we're going to set up that lerp value. It's capital UM scale. Like, yeah. So if you want to see the math that's going on there and stuff, you can put some print statements in to see what you've got there. Now we're going to do some aspect positioning because we want our smaller clouds to be further away. Right, they're small. Cannot type. And we're going to have to see if it'll take this .1 property since it doesn't like this .0. We might have to set up our vector 3 with values of 1. Now we've set up our position and scale kind of using some random numbers and some code that we could use is some good samples. We want to make the cloud a child of the anchor. And this is cool. We can use the transform.setParent and say you are a child of the anchor. Finally, we're going to set this cloud into our cloud instances array. Let me scroll down and see if they say anything about the scaling. Not too much.
Where'd you make cloud at?
Cloud is made at the very beginning of our for loop.
Are you using others too?
Yeah,
Yeah, so for some reason,
because it's like,
cloud is wanting to be capitalized. And it's saying that
Well,
it doesn't.
Do we need a cloud?
Main cloud is not visible.
we never actually like made a cloud, right?
Yeah, I think we need a cloud game object, don't you?
I just put game on cloud because
It was looking
for
it's not defined before cloud would be defined.
you.
Because we do want each cloud to be new, so we should be okay declaring it as a game object there.
And then on my C position, it's saying X and Y can't be floated. Or has been. Yeah. Float is not a definition for X. For your C position? Did you not want it's in the parentheses, it's on the dot X and dot Y. Mine's giving me an error when like on the vector 3C position with this vector. It's saying representation of 3D vector points, non-invocable mode of vector 3, not using vector. So
Well, I'm not
we
getting
had
that.
3.0, I'd actually like that better than that parentheses 0, 0, 0. At least I'm not.
Okay.
Oh yeah, if you take out the parentheses, it works.
Yeah.
It's just saying that it's not can't be invoked like a method.
Mm-hmm.
So you want vector 3.0?
Not up there. So when we down lower, when we did .1,
Uh-huh. It doesn't like
it
it.
doesn't like the parentheses. I think
You think we can do vector
you can
3?
get rid of the parentheses and it takes it.
Mm.
Mine didn't like the parentheses for the 0, 0, 0 either.
Hmm.
I actually did .0 on mine, so
Yeah.
and it took that as well.
30.
Right.
So vector 3.0, it did take.
It should.
That's where I'm getting one too. Okay, did you guys see that? Where we create the C position, do vector 3.0, and then down where you're setting the local scale of the transform, vector 3.1 is okay. I'm still getting an error in, oh, there it went. I'm gonna try running it.
Oh,
It's not gonna be all working all the way because we have more stuff to do.
What happened
I'm not sure.
there?
Unassigned reference, the cloud prefab. Oh, I gotta assign my cloud prefab.
Yeah.
So click on your main camera and find your script, your Cloud Crafter script, and drag your cloud prefab. My cloud prefab looks like a big blue box.
That's what mine looks like.
That's making me not know it, that's what it is.
Yeah, mine blew up.
Did it?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Ah! So let's fix our update script. So we got a little bit more to do there in that script. In our update method, we're going to do a for each loop.
This cloud too big.
We're going to iterate over each cloud that was created. Remember, it's in our array, so we can get to it. We made our array as a class variable, so all those inspector variables up at the top, remember, are global to our class, so we can reach that array from all of our different methods. The for each command with C# lets us use an array like that. Any sort of collection is a controller of a loop. So we're going to say for each item in our array, we want to create a game object, and we're going to call it cloud. So each time we see a new cloud in our cloud instances array, we'll create a new game object to hold it called cloud. It's kind of the reverse of what we did to build it. So for each of those, we want to get the cloud's scale and position. We're going to set that into a float variable. Grab that scale X value. Then we want a vector 3 variable. Again, we're going to name it C position for cloud position. And it's going to hold the position of this cloud instance that we're looking at. We want our clouds to move. So we want our larger clouds to move faster.
You spelled transform wrong on
Okay,
vector 3.
thank you. So we need to take that scaling value that we kind of created earlier and use it to generate a speed setting there. We want to check to make sure that our clouds are still on the screen. If our cloud position X parameter is less than or equal to our cloud position minimum, X position, then we're going to set our X to our cloud position maximum X value. Finally, we're going to update our cloud with that new setting. I have low hopes. I think still just going to be a massive blitz of clouds. All right, we'll try it. Here.
Yeah. They move.
Oh, I'm missing an S in transform
It's just
again.
really foggy up there.
It's super foggy. Well, they said there was zero visibility in Branson. So.
We need to set the transparency.
Oh, look at.
42.
It's a hurricane.
Where do we want to do that?
No, I was kidding.
Can't even see the slingshot.
Yeah,
Can't
that-
see anything.
That way it makes it actually look like clouds.
Yeah.
If you didn't want to fix the clouds, just make it transparent. So I wonder.
They seem way too big. Go back to your Cloud Crafter script. Let's see. After our lerp, I've got this comment in about our smaller clouds being further away, but we need to update our Z position. That should do some good. 100 minus 90 times scale U. It has some distance there, instead of maybe everything being right on top of us. Let's see if that helps. Nope. Every once in a while I can get enough visibility to see my... I feel like we should set up some variables for those 0 and 1 positions since things don't seem to be working right. Let's set up a vector 3 called 0 val.
You should,
Screen share this screen.
I will. What do you want me to show?
Just let's do-
yeah, I commented out 2 lines of code in there, and the way it changed it,
Uh-huh.
instead of being on your face, it was just this big blob blob of one cloud.
Just going on by. Okay, so I'm going to set up vector 3 variables for our 0 called 0 val and a 1 val because I just don't think that's working properly. So no, I set 0, 0, 0 and 1, 1, 1. Now let's compare set C position equal to 0 val. And then down here, instead of multiplying, let's set it to 1 val times our scale value and see if that does anything. Come on. I see my slingshot there. There it is. It is. It's like driving down by the lake on certain days.
That font looks as thick as
That is a big cloud.
Isn't it? No matter what you do, they're just like big clouds.
Maybe you should see those.
You want me, I want to see some. Okay, I'm gonna stop my share so that we grab it. Show us what you got. I want to see some of them.
What's your isn't your like your meeting ID your number or something?
417. Oh, you have to put the. Did you find it? Because if I say all the words, then it would work.
Awesome. All right. Share.
Oh yeah, let's see this. Those look really good. It's a giant, partly cloudy.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? What did that was remarking out. What did we do? Just remarking out these two lines.
Setting up that random, so they're all coming out the same spot.
So it makes me wonder that if this random range thing is what's causing our cloud to be all up in our face. Because if I get rid of it, it'll go back to looking the way yours does.
Mm-hmm. Was it that, or is it our scale value? So what if we set our scale to much lower? I'm gonna try like 0.25 and 1 or something. Did not help mine.
Oh, also earlier, the reason I didn't like the vector 3000 is because we've got the new keyword.
Oh, okay. It's
You
gonna
know what I
be
mean?
new. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I'm getting an error on this line report saying that Unity engine vector 3 does not contain vector transform and no extension method for transport. Is it a capital T on the transport? No.
And make sure it says transform because I left out like the S if you were copying me. Okay, Tyler's going to share his screen because he's got a bunch of errors. So let's help him because he's at home. Go to your script. Let's see. Go up to the top and let us see your variable declarations.
We'll see on line 22, like I was saying earlier, it doesn't like his vector 3 because it's missing the new keyword. So he either needs to put new in there or do the.
Tyler, can you hear that? On line 22, put the word new before vector 3.
Or he can use your public vectors that you made up at the top. Either one.
Either one.
Yeah.
Okay, that took care of a lot. He's got like
Transformation.
Here he's missing an equal
Supposed to be
sign.
transform.
On line 27, he's not like he's trying to set the equal, but he doesn't have an equal sign. So
line 27, change the put an equal sign after the Z.
It's not transformation, it's transform.
Line 29, make it transform instead of transformation.
Oh, instances, he also forgot his brackets for the, he just has I got brackets.
On line 31, the I should be enclosed within square brackets.
Yeah, that should be still U on 26.
Line 26, scale U. How's that?
let's say he misspelled the multi.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'd look at the very top.
Look
and
up
see
at
how
your
he spelled
variable
it.
declarations for cloud speed multiplier. Where
Oh, he
it's missing.
Yeah.
So put it, yeah, it's a float. Cloud speed mult equal 0.5 F. Zero 0.5 F. Good. See how that looks. Let's check your cloud position max up there where you declared your variables. Oh, or does it need to be C position dot X down there? So the other side of the equal sign, you need dot X also? Yes. Man, we want that IntelliSense working. That's so nice. I'm jealous of all you guys with your laptops with working IntelliSense. I'm going to have to just use mine. Let's see. Okay, stop run and then click on your main camera and set your cloud prefab to your cloud.
All I did was click on my cloud anchor and change all the field values to 0.01. Now, now you can see it. But yeah, look at this.
The blue box cloud. Our clouds are a fail. Okay, try it now, Tyler. It should work. Yay, your clouds failed just like everybody else's. Okay, that's where we are. We're going to disconnect you. Good job. Okay, let's get organized. This is the next step in our textbook, which, it's one of those things where You sometimes wonder if it wouldn't have been better to be doing it from the very beginning. I'm going to ignore our clouds right now for a moment, because as a developer, I get to choose to do that. That they're annoying me. We're going to ignore them, and we'll come back to them. We might even just disable their script for a little while. Come back to them, because we can do that. So let's get organized in our project pane. Right now, we have pretty much everything just in our assets folder. We did save our scene in the scene folder, so we do have that one organized. So let's create some additional folders and get everything set up nicely the way we would like. Create a folder. Is up at the top. I couldn't find it. Now the first folder that we want is going to be 2 underscores. You know, our author really likes using some interesting naming conventions like this. He wants 2 underscores scripts. That would be the name of our scripts folder. So in our scripts folder, we should have our cloud script, our cloud crafter script, our follow cam script, and our slingshot script. And you can tell he wanted that double underscore so that it would sort first. It would be the first folder in our list of folders when we're looking at our assets window. Okay, so the next folder that we want to create is going to be underscore materials, just 1 underscore. Oops, but I'm in the wrong place. I want that to be in my assets folder, not inside my scripts folder. So make sure you're clicked in the assets folder when you create your new one. Underscore materials. Now we want our material cloud, material ground, our material for our projectile, and our slingshot material to be in that folder. And we also want our physics material for our projectile to be in that materials folder. The next folder we create is going to be our prefabs. So it will be underscore prefabs. I did it again. Make sure you're in your assets folder. Now in prefabs, we want our cloud sphere, and our projectile. Now, if you notice, just like Windows Explorer, the File Explorer, you really have 2 windows here on this project pane. So now you can use this left-hand side to go through your different folders to be looking at the assets in that folder, in that main pane. So that makes everything much more organized. Okay, we're to the point now where we're going to build our castle. So let's save everything, take a break. While you guys take a break, figure out what's wrong with our clouds.
I think the skill, skill.
I know, it's got to be the skill.
0.1 is still good. Well, we might have to push them back.
I've tried all the skills. I think it's positioning.
Do you think it's positioning that they're too close, that they're Z'd right up into our face?
Yeah.
They could be. Yeah, if they're way too...
The random value is just between 0 and 1, right?
Mm-hmm. We can look, though. I'll double check. It says both 0.0 and 1.0 may be returned by this property. This behavior is different to that of many other random number generators, which return a value less than, but never exactly equal to 1. So if it's 1, that could make them
Look at
pretty
this.
huge, but I don't think it would be 1 over and over. It's like you've generated Mount Rushmore. Well, at least they're back behind the slingshot instead of having a major fog haze.
Yeah, and all I did was change those 2 lines. So right there where we do the position.x, position.y,
Uh-huh.
and we do that, all I did was put min in there twice. Instead of going from
Min to max.
I went min to min.
Hmm.
So that just tells me I think it's something to do with that.
That
those
stuff.
2 lines. Well, I don't know if it's necessarily working, but it's better.
They're all put on top of each other too. That's another big
Yeah.
issue. They're literally just spawn line on top of each other. This is better if it's in the background. You can at least play the game.
Yeah, it's better, yeah. It still looks like you're in Tornado Alley, but at least it's not on top of you.
And you did amend
I just got rid of the max value and changed the min. Just it was just a test. I just did min to min.
Okay.
But
Why would we,
unless we need a z.
I think it's Z. Why would we multiply our scale value by 1, by 1s? If it was less than 1, wouldn't that just result in the same as what it was?
Maybe, unless they're trying to get rid of some dust.
Wow, I'm not even seeing that. So I guess that would get rid of that.
I'm gonna
Okay.
try adding another line,
Uh-huh.
like z position dot z, range dot range, and then cloud min dot z. Cloud
See what it does there, yeah. I've probably got something wrong from the code. It's probably the book.
Yeah, and I didn't get my copy of my book here, so.
You have to trust me, huh? You're in bad shape. Scale U, scale value.
Nope.
Oh, I think it's our lerp. Cloud position. I think it's our lerp. I think someone else typed it.
When I comment outlier, it's still wrong.
Yeah, but I think it's using the wrong variables. Oh.
I think you need to say
Scale.
Why do I have a cloud anchor? I don't know. She'll get to that.
Why do you have a cloud? What's the matter with it?
It could also be where we do cloud.transform.local scale,
Uh-huh.
because when I comment that line out, it goes back to normal.
No, I think there's a typo in our alert.
But it's set.
What are you talking about?
Oh. Text me. Oh, shoot.
whoa, okay, that's where they are.
Oh, whoa.
Okay.
Is that Tyler? Stop it, Tyler.
Oh, no. I'd say I've got songs.
Okay, change the lerp statement.
Change the alert.
Change the lerp statement, but I can't get mine's acting weird now. So in your lerp, it should be cloud scale min and cloud scale max instead of, oh no, there's two of them. Okay, right in there, I messed up. So we want that one. Scale val should be this lerp using the scale minimum and the scale maximum. And then we need another lerp that I missed. Or I actually just combined them for you. Just wanted you to see, you know, how it would impact you. That should help us a lot, because now we're setting our Y. I'm wondering where it was going. I'm gonna have to close out of Visual Studio and reopen though, because I'm not being able to run from all that organizing. Unity is all confused about where my script is. So if you have that problem, just reopen it. Did that help?
Yeah.
So I'm getting an error in Unity that I have two Cloud Crafter classes.
Yeah, I had me reload mine.
Did you, when you reloaded it, did it help?
Yeah.
Good.
That's cool. And you can sit there and make your clouds. Now we have actual cloud groups.
Yep, I've got two of them. How?
Actually, there are some habits. I don't know. I would just delete it and
Yeah.
re-add it. Maybe that'll fix it.
What's the matter, Barry?
We got a little error that we can't really figure out. It's saying that the cloud prefab variable, cloud crafter output sign even
Drag your cloud prefab.
do what now?
Drag your cloud prefab and the inspector over into that.
Yeah, that's
So-
what we did.
Uh-huh. Okay, just a sec. Mine's just broken and it's driving me crazy.
I'm not having that appearance. Mine are way up top.
Got clouds everywhere around up in this place.
I've got a few small ones floating down low, but all the big ones are up high. You can't see them unless you see that.
I can't do anything till mine works. Great. Two crowd clappers.
There's no telling. She probably accidentally dragged another script. Oh, wait, go back.
I was just making sure she didn't have.
What was that on assets? There's a cloud crafter script there.
Yeah.
And then go back to scripts. There's a cloud crafter script there. What I would do is just delete one of them.
Make sure.
She copied and pasted. She just made the other one.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I was watching her. Yeah, I'd delete that one. And then go, it's on cameras where we have that script, right? I'd go to camera, I would delete that script. Yeah, remove component. Yeah. And then you have to go back there because I think you have to put that cloud prefab back on.
Right.
So you instantiate the script on the cloud itself. That wasn't how I did it. Okay.
So resistant.
Well, check back
might
her
not have-
script. She
yeah.
might have. This might not be the updated one.
Yeah, it's not. There you go. Yeah, it's not.
I took it. You remember when we take a picture?
Should be cloud scale max and cloud scale min, right?
Right. But the main comes first.
Okay.
What the hell? And then a new line.
Okay.
And then it's C position dot Y
Okay.
equals map F
Mm-hmm.
dot alert.
Okay.
And then it's going to be cloud position man dot Y.
Inside parentheses, right?
Yeah. And then comma. C position dot Y, comma, scale U.
Okay. Is that it?
Should be.
Yeah.
So we change. No typo.
Yeah. Not bad.
I don't know how I missed it. Probably the delay in
Hey,
screen share.
I got an issue when I see this one. I don't know what happened.
Is it working now?
Should be. Yep.
Sweet.
This is working better.
I don't know. It's kind of disappeared on me. Like, the clouds are running pretty good. But that is like, nope. I'm saying this guy.
Can you still click on it?
Oh, at this point, let's see.
I think we organized in the project.
That's weird. Go to your camera. You didn't choose your camera scale, did you?
I had to choose where I saved this, or else the script would cause two scripts to create. Because it's still saving it in the same repository spot. We should have had the studio closed, obviously. Even if we did that. Okay, so I'm going to.
Yeah.
I would just save it and then close out again. Do that.
And this was working before I implemented. Now it is I'm waiting on the community to actually respond.
Click on your slingshot.
Yeah, yeah, he had it right down here with a radius of 0.5, so.
So it was showing up, just couldn't.
Your floor's gone.
No, no, if you.
It was just too small for it to
Yeah.
register.
Yeah, you have to put your mouse exactly right here. Insert the
Just disable the screen.
Yeah.
Figure out
That's weird.
That's weird.
Is that
Because it was just it.
Castle,
Like, and then,
Tiger Stone Cloud.
I don't know what changed.
But you don't even
You guys need it.
Yeah.
It's like it's showing your butt outside of that circle. Or no, they're both cut off.
That's just the beat us.
I usually use the create crash.
You can't like click on it.
No. Anything like this.
You won't even let it close.
All I did was.
It won't. Oh my gosh. Look at those clouds. They're amazing.
My
Woohoo!
ground disappeared and most of my screenshots
Oh
moved. I don't know.
no. Oh no. What's wrong? Let's see. Tyler's got something wrong.
So click
We got a lot of wrong. Tyler, I'm gonna put this up so you can see it. Look at that for loop and check your stuff here real fast. Your clouds are still massive.
Well, like, there's a lot better, but there's some-
Well, now, you know, I was messing with some of those values and I set them pretty low. So let's see.
Oh, gotcha.
What did I mess with? Oh, the cloud scale maximum and minimum I set to 0.25 and 1.
Okay.
I like those littler clouds actually. They don't seem quite so overwhelming.
Where's that at?
In the
Scale?
variables, yeah, the scale variables.
0.25 and 1.
In 1,
Oh, I missed that. You snuck those sheets
It was
in.
just when we were messing with them, trying to get them to work. I just tried it to see if it would affect the scale, but since the lerp was all wrong, it didn't. Isn't that pretty?
Yeah.
Very
His issue, I don't know what happened.
The clouds do look good.
Oh,
It's like his,
125 and 1.
1, that's what I made them.
it's like his Unity has lost like association with his objects.
I really think that that's the reason it made it mad. I think that.
Well, we like tried.
Visual Studio closed and stuff when we did that. Closed Visual Studio too.
It's like a Mario
Make sure
game.
you got everything.
Right.
Should restart. It's just.
You can just see it.
Yeah, this is fun. But,
I most of the
I know.
guys
I
don't.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
I have
what makes
no
me
idea.
upset
Because
though
it just
is
disappeared.
you
Like,
watch my
Whack
watch.
I know that.
You watch my ball, like it looks like it's gonna work, but then like when I get down here, it, like zooms all the way in.
Really?
And I don't know why. That's why. It's because you remember there was somewhere on the physics that we changed on the ball. I'll look at it. You go to my prefab, I'll show you which one it is. Yeah, you see this collision detection, you remember how we changed this from units?
I kind of would have enough
When I do
patience to
this.
see it. I gotta make a lot more animations. I cannot figure it out. One for each.
Cause like last time, like half the class, as soon as we did this, like whatever down, I just kept copying what she was doing, but mine never worked. And I figured it out, it's because of the discrete thing. I have no idea why. So, makes me wonder if I'm missing some kind of package or something.
Yeah, my character is moving in a major direction. I'm making 3 different positions.
Project lab?
Yeah. Yeah, cause we changed it to continue. Yeah.
It's set to interpolate none.
Just look, it's like it's zoomed right
What's that?
into your slingshot.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really care that much.
Ah,
Oh,
Good call.
good job.
Good one. My camera moved.
I was wondering.
Good call.
Okay, how's Tyler? Tyler, are you okay?
Oh, we got the Raptors.
Clouds.
He sits in the back.
It says Tyler.
Oh,
Oh, you mean like in here? I don't remember. Where's Tyler normally set?
Back there.
Oh, in the back?
Uh-huh, yeah.
Oh,
In
yeah.
the very, way back.
Oh, in the left side.
Right.
Which one he is.
I don't know why.
Okay, Tyler, share with us. I'm gonna stop sharing here if I can figure it out.
And then the kid that normally sits over there is his name Kenneth, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, Tyler, you should be able to share now.
What's his doing wrong?
I don't know. All I can see is Tyler is a boss. That looks pretty good. Oh, they're moving. What do you want?
You could change his speed
Yeah,
up a little bit.
Is he moving space on? That's what made him move, right?
Probably.
did you press spacebar to make it move? Yes. So set your cloud speed multiplier, what, to a little lower, do you think?
I put mine at 2.
Go up, go faster.
You wanted it to go faster? We want his to go slower.
Oh, then yeah. he'll have to move
Make it
that.
like 0.25 instead of
Or you can do it
0.5.
in the inspector.
Yeah, because the variables are already told.
It'd probably be easier to just do it in the inspector.
Yeah, they're supposed to move. Yeah, on their own. Yeah, I think it's your computer. You're
Where does he actually?
you're killing your computer.
What's his code at for it though?
Where is your code for what? The moving?
You have to make it move. So I think he missed that.
Yeah, I think you're missing something. Let me see.
Right, yeah, you can see a lot.
What do you have in your update? Oh, yep, right there, down at the bottom of your for each, right after the if statement.
Oh yeah, yeah. he's missing
So
it.
right there, you need just one line of code, and it's going to say cloud dot transform dot position equals CPOS, your CPOS variable. That's it. Now try it, because I think that's the only thing you're running or missing. I mean,
There it is. Oh, wait,
Yeah, he was being slow. It took the changes.
There it goes.
He was still in play.
it's working. Yay. Let's make a castle. Okay. I'm sharing mine. Yes. Okay, so I want a castle. And I'm excited that they've updated the game in this version of the book. So what we're going to have is, let's see. Our castle is going to be made out of like slabs, like bricks. So we're going to have this middle one be green as kind of like a target.
That's what you're trying to get to?
Yeah, and so we're trying to knock the whole thing down. So I guess if you hit right there, you'll knock it down. Now, the thing is, we're going to, after, if we have time, after we set up our castle, we're going to add a trail to our projectile, which is kind of neat. And then we're going to actually add multiple castles. So we could have different castles as we go. So I don't know if we'll get to all of those. Probably not today, but I'd like to at least get our castle built. We'll leave the rest of it then for you to finish up. I'll make a video of us finishing them up because I know those are so fun and you love them. Okay, so let's make a castle. Some other things to do. What they want us to do first is to adjust the scene pane so that you're viewing the scene from the back in isometric view by clicking the arrow on the axis gizmo opposite the z-axis. So click. So here's my z-axis. If I go to the opposite, that's going to show me my back view. Now, they also say this would be a great time to get rid of the skybox view. Thought we already did that. Oh, I see. They're talking about up here. So this little skybox button in your scene title, We want to click on it. We want to choose it until it turns gray, they say. What do we got? The background gray?
So we'll just get rid of the skybox.
Yeah. I want to see what how it looks when you run now.
Well, yeah, that's just hiding.
Mm. Just hiding it from our scene. Okay. We could do that. Now, they say double click the main camera in your hierarchy to zoom the scene pane to a good view from which to build the castle. And set it up however you want so that you can see it. So the first thing that we want to do is look at our materials. And they recommend that we duplicate our cloud material and name it material stone. So I want to duplicate my cloud. And just rename it Matt _ stone.
Control D.
Control D.
Yeah, 'cause I don't think it's actually a right click option.
Yeah.
Was it? I couldn't see it. And I right clicked.
Yeah, see, it's not even.
It's not even showing up. Yeah, you have to Control D. So pretty weird. Okay, so our stone. Yeah, I did duplicate. Let's set our main color to 25% gray, and they give us some RGB settings for that if you want to use theirs. They suggest 64, 64, 64. And then 255 for your saturation. That looks like stone. Pretty ugly. I like it. It works for a castle. Do it. You can make your castle prettier if you want it to be reflective gold or something like that. You can do that.
Don't worry, this is the fifth time I've froze it completely.
You just keep breaking it. Might have to restart that computer. There might be Windows updates or something installed that haven't been restarted on it.
I think we need to grab this little thing right here. I'll bring it to the corner, and then we can just like.
Okay, let's create a cube.
Create a cube.
Yeah, so I'm gonna. Can't see this morning. I hope my new glasses come over spring break. Maybe that'll help, huh? We want this cube to be named wall. Not W all. Like, hey, yo, it's wall. See, I can't see a thing. So for our wall, let's set our transform to position 0, 0, 0. Rotation 0, 0, 0, and scale 1, 4, 4. Okay, it's going to be a block. Let's add a rigid body. And in our rigid body, let's constrain the Z position of our wall. We don't want our wall floating towards us or away from us by setting the freeze position Z to true. Now we also want to set our rotation to freeze. So let's set X and Y's rotation to true. Set our mass to 4. And then we want to drag our material, our stone material onto our wall. And that looks good. So now we have our cube here floating out in space. That looks nice. Let's create a script for this. So I want to go to the scripts folder. And in our scripts folder, let's create a new script. And we're going to name this one Rigid Body Sleep. Is it coming back, David, or is it still
Rigid body what? Sleep.
sleep?
Sleep.
Rigid Body Sleep. Because you can use one of those other computers if that one's being a jerk.
I don't try to do anything that I'm really wanting to do.
Then it's fine. Huh?
Whenever I try to run it or add script to some things, it wants to just
That is not good. Okay, let's update our script. Our rigid body sleep. So in our start method, we're going to create a rigid body component called RB. And we're going to use the get component constructor to create that rigid body. Now, we're going to check to see if our rigid body is not equal to null, meaning that it doesn't have anything associated with it. So what we're doing here basically is telling the wall to quit moving, just sleep, just sit there.
Not to sleep though,
It's just sitting there, yeah. So instead of, it says it'll help the castles initially be stable, because there were, it says there were issues in some versions of Unity with castles falling down before the projectile hit them. So we don't want them to go crashing down through the ground. So
keeps it.
they're just sitting there asleep. Yeah. Okay, I think I'm gonna delete this update method because I don't want it causing us trouble. Get rid of it. And then save this new script. And I'm gonna go back to Unity. And we wanna associate this script with our wall, but let's make it, okay, I'm gonna take rigid body script, associate it with our wall. I got errors though. And then I want to take our wall and drag it down to our project pane to make it into a prefab.
Not your scripts.
It's mad, mad, mad. And then I'm going to delete my wall from my hierarchy.
Shouldn't you put the wall in the prefab folder instead of your scripts?
Oh, yep. I should. Thank you. Put it in the right place. Now we're going to duplicate this wall, and it shouldn't matter that there's an error in that script right now as far as setting up our UI. I'll go back and figure out what that error is here in a minute, but I want to finish this step while we're at it. So for this wall component right here, we want to duplicate it. And we want to name this duplicate slab. Now for our slab, let's change its transform scale. We want to set our scale to 4, 0.5, and 4. Now I'm going to save everything. And try to figure out this error. Doesn't like my rigid body.
You need to capitalize the B.
I need it lowercase, I think, in this. Yeah. So in the generic reference, it needs to be lowercase. See if that's why it's mad. It did it. Okay, that was the only error I saw, was that here within the greater than, less than brackets, the rigid body keyword I had an uppercase B, and we want that to be lowercase. So if all your errors are corrected, then we're ready to build our castle from our slabs and our walls. So let's create an empty game object to be the root node of our castle. We're going to name this thing castle, surprisingly enough. And we want to set our transform on our castle. Ugh, this stupid online textbook keeps asking me if I want to take a survey. It's like you guys when they start asking for you to do the instructor evaluation. It won't go away.
Or here's something like keep asking if you're still there.
Yeah, are you around? I am. I really am. Could you just quit acting like this is the most secure app known to man? I really don't think it needs that high level of security. Jeez. Leave me logged on for an hour. What's it going to hurt? Okay, so our transform positions for our castle should be 0, negative 9.5, 0, and 0, 0, 0 on our rotation, and 1, 1, 1 on our scale. This says this should position it well for construction and puts its base, if you can see with the arrows right there for our empty game object, it sets our base right on our ground. Now let's drag a wall from our prefabs. So I'm going to take a wall and drag it onto our castle. Now for that wall, let's make 3 duplicates. And we want to set our wall that doesn't have a subscript number beside it to these transforms. So we want our first wall to be -6, 2, and 0. Our wall 1 position should be -2, 2, and 0. Our wall with the number 2 beside it should be 2, 2, and 0. So if you notice, we're just kind of setting them beside each other. And then our last one with the number 3 should be 6, 2, and 0. So we're just staggering them, whoops, across that area. Okay, if you've got your 4 walls good, let's drag a slab onto our castle. This will be kind of like our roof. So with our slab, we want 2 duplicates. Our very first slab should be set to -4 and 4.25 and then 0. The slab with the 1 should be 0, 4.25, 0. And then our slab with the number 2 should be 4 and 4.25. So you can see now we've got our first layer built, or castle, our first floor. So to make a second floor, let's try duplicating our first floor. So we're going to use our mouse and we want to select 3 adjacent walls. So click, control click, and then we want 2 slabs. So control click. So we've basically selected everything except that last wall and roof. And then I want to duplicate that, control D. And then I'm going to move those up and over. Let me drag you over. Set them kind of on top of that one. Now we're going to go ahead and set those positions manually, but we should be pretty close because we've dragged them. We can tweak them real quick. Wall number 4 should be at -4 and 6.5. So yeah, we were super close, or I was. Good job. And then wall 5 should be 0 and 6.5. Wall 6 should be 4 and 6.5. And then our slabs. Slab 3 should be -2 and 8.75. And then the last slab 4 should be 2 and 8.75. Okay.
Just noticed that for whatever reason, mine are the same.
Where do you want? Which one do you want to start on? Does your bottom floor look okay, or is it messed up?
I just noticed that every time I put in the positions that you had up there, it would be off.
That's okay. If you're not exactly the same, we're all right, as long as it looks like a castle. Do you want me to start?
It's not even close to it.
Okay, I'll start at this first one.
-6 to, okay, so -6 to,
And then the next one is -2, 2. I thought you guys were amazing. It's like, how are you keeping up with these?
I guess.
Did you guess? You did it.
See, just to get the game, they even do that.
second wall, so wall parentheses
2 is 2, 2.
All right, now he's on the first one.
Okay. The first slab is -4, 4.25. Then the slab with the number 1 is 0 and 4.25. And then slab with the 2 is 4 and 4.25.
Okay. That should be fine.
Do you need that second story?
No.
Got it. Does it look good? Okay. Now let's duplicate again. So this time we want to get 2 walls and 1 roof. Control D. And then we want to move that new floor up 1. And we won't worry about that exact positioning because I think we're getting plenty close enough. And then the last one they want is just like a wall. So just select 1 wall and duplicate it and move it up to be the top floor. Kind of get it positioned the way you want it. That looks good. Now, once you've got your walls and slabs and stuff, we're going to change a setting in our slab prefab because we want to see how it affects all of the instances of our slab prefab. So let's click on our slab prefab in our project pane and look at the inspector and set it scale X instead of 4 to 3.5. Did you see the change? It's very subtle because we just made a small change, but it made all your slabs just a little bit shorter. So remember, with a prefab like that, that gives you a lot of control because you can make that change and have it impact every occurrence of your prefab. Okay, let's make our goal because we want something to hit. So let's create a cube.
Do we want it at 3.5 or change it like 4?
You can leave it either one. Totally up to you.
So prefabs really come in handy when you have moving.
Oh yeah, and so that's why, like, if you were creating an enemy, you'd want an enemy prefab, and then you would want to dynamically set up your sprite or whatever was going to be on it if you wanted it to work that way, so that you could control all of them in the same type of mode. Okay, so let's create a new cube. And this cube object is going to be our goal. Bless you. So let's name it goal. Let's go ahead and make it a child of our castle because it's going to be on our castle. And for our goal, we want it to be in that first area, the first floor, right in the middle. So we could do it manually, but our transform would be 0, 2, 0. Rotation 0, 0, 0. Scale 3, 4, 4. You should see it fill up that area. Now in Inspector, they say to set box collider is trigger to true. So let's check that. Let's drag the goal into our prefabs folder to make it a prefab.
What do we set up in the box collider?
Is trigger.
Oh, so the
Uh-huh. That's what we're trying to hit, that will knock down our castle. All right, let's make a material for our goal. So I'm going to go to our materials folder and create a new material. And we'll call it MAT_goal. And they suggest a bright green. I'll go candy apple green. That looks good. Now let's drag our goal material onto our prefab. It's making me crazy. Fighting back. So I'm just going to choose select material and select my material because it's fighting with me. There we go. Finally. Still didn't do it.
I think you can just drag the material onto the one thing.
Yeah, you can just,
You can drag it to the site on your actual site.
yeah, just drag it to the hierarchy goal and apply.
Yeah, but then it's not affecting our prefab, is it?
If you drag it onto a hierarchy, then you can't apply.
Okay.
Then it applies to the prefab.
I don't know what I just put it on. Probably something that'll make it look really ugly. Do, 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 do.
Then you click on the goal.
In my prefab?
No, in the hierarchy. Then go to transform and hit apply.
Awesome.
And that updates the prefab.
Thank you. I was just like, oh my goodness, what do I do with this minor problem? It's just totally destroyed me. Okay, test your castle. How's it look? It's giant. I'm going to change my castle position. They suggest changing your castle position to 50, -9.5, and 0. So moving it out of the way a little bit so it's not right up there by your slingshot. 50, -9.5, and 0. So shoot at it.
You can't shoot at it.
There it is. Yeah, haven't got there yet. Oh, it's going down.
Gotta get it in one shot.
Yeah, you want 30. Can you see it then?
No.
I'm going to try 20. That's better. 20 is better. Well, you can sort of see it, just a little edge.
Yeah, put mine at 12. I can see the whole thing. Key,
Okay, so it's doing some things. it would be nice if we could add a little bit more logic here. After the projectile is settled down, we want the camera to move back to focus on the slingshot again. So let's stop playing. Issues? Problem? What's the matter?
I can't get my rigid body sleep script to apply to wall prefab.
That's what I.
They won't let you put it on there?
Like, it's saying that the script needs to derive from mono behavior, but it does.
Oh, this is a fun issue. I have to deal with this in my house. I ain't we doing that time.
Oh no.
Okay. Yeah. I and then
All the others apply to rigid body sleep.
How's it going, guys?
Thank you. I'll find out.
Okay. Oh, you are just awesome.
That's been there for a while.
Let's try to return back so we can shoot again. And then we're getting to where it's just about done. Of course, we need to add like our scoring and things like that. But in our fixed update script, remember our point of interest where we were trying to figure out what we were concerned about with our camera. What do we want to follow? What's the thing that our camera is interested in following? And we had set up some stuff here to get our point of interest. Well, let's comment a little bit of this out. We want to take these first two lines of code and comment them. So we won't do it that way now. Instead, we're going to do some better code because remember, I did not like that return code. I said, this is bad code. So we're going to fix it. Now with our if statement, we're going to say, if there's no point of interest, set the destination on the camera to vector 3.0, which again, we'll probably have trouble with because we seem to just be a little bit different than what version they have. Now I'm going to put in an else clause. And the first thing we want to do in our else clause is, bless you, get the position of the point of interest. We're going to say our destination equals our point of interest dot transform position. And if our point of interest is a projectile, so we're going to need to set that tag, check to see if it is at rest. So our if statement, we're going to be checking the tag value of this object that we found to see if it's been tagged as a projectile. If so, we're going to check to see if it's sleeping. So we're going to use our get component constructor to run the is sleeping method to check the status of that component. If it's sleeping or at rest, then we're going to move our camera back to its default view. And then return. So in our next update, it'll hit that if statement that it's null and set it to the 0 position. I think so.
Yeah.
I think they've left that out because they did have it defined and then they commented that out. So it's a vector 3. Oh, else it won't be available. So let's put it destination. I'm shortening it for us. Okay, so I'm going to save all this, and there's some things that we need to do in the inspector. So that little if block code that we added should move us back to the point of origin on our camera when we don't have anything to look at. So the first thing we want to do is go to our prefabs and click on our projectile, and we want to set that tag value. So in our tags, we want to add a new tag. Projectile.
You would call it the same name as the object.
Mm-hmm. Now, once you've added that tag, update your projectile prefab to use the tag. And then we want to update one of our system settings at the physics level. So let's open our project settings, choose Edit, Project Settings, and we want to update our physics. So in our physics, we want to change the sleep threshold So we want our sleep threshold to be a little bit faster so that we don't have to sit there and watch that thing forever. So from 0.005, we want to make it 0.02. We might be making it longer. Oh, well, we'll see. Making it long. Now, the sleep threshold is the amount of movement in a single physics engine frame that will cause a rigid body to continue to be simulated in the following frame. If an object moves less than this amount, which we've now set to 2 centimeters, in a single frame, the physics will sleep that rigid body object and cease simulating it until something happens to make it move again. So it's going to quit worrying about that object in the scene render. All right, let's run it and see if we can see an impact. There we go. Now when you play, you should see once your projectile stops moving, you should be able to fire again.
Mine landed in the green.
Your what?
Mine landed in the green.
Did it? Did it matter?
I didn't do it.
Didn't do anything?
Yeah, I don't think you had a trigger.
We got to trigger it.
Yep.
Something important, huh? So I'm just going to keep going because I think that we could skip around a little bit to get that triggering action to occur. But it looks like we might be missing some components if we do that because of the way it's set up. So let's add a projectile trail to our projectile instead because we can do some cool stuff. Now, it says, well, Unity doesn't have, or it does have, sorry, a built-in trail renderer effect. It won't really serve our purpose because we want more control over the trail than what we can get from that Unity built-in. So we're going to use a line renderer to build our trail. So let's start by creating an empty game object.
Look at your own play.
Nope, thank you. I thought it was looking awful pretty. Let me try that again. Oh, look, that looks so nice. Now I want this empty game object to be called projectile line. So it's going to be a path. We're going to establish a path. Now on our projectile line, let's add a component. And the component that we want to add is in the effects. And we're going to add a line renderer. Now in Inspector, we want to expand the materials disclosure triangle. Where's materials? There it is. I want to expand that. Okay, so I'm going to update our settings. First of all, our transform should be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1. Cast shadows should be on. Receive shadows, let's turn off. Unless you want your projectile to shadow some other things, you could try it. It looks really cool. Now, for our motion vectors, let's set that to per object motion. The size of 1 is fine. Now, the element 0 that we want to be affected, we're going to set that to our projectile material. We'll leave the light map parameters set to none. Use world space. That's all fine. Okay, so our width is set to 1 like they want. colors, corners, view, stretch, default, 0, off, off. Okay, all of our other settings look good. So that's the way we want this thing to be set up. So let's create a script to control it. I'm going to go to the scripts folder, create a new script. This will be projectile line. And let's edit that. We're going to create a static variable. Projectile line, and we're going to call it S. And that's going to give us a singleton variable. Remember, that's going to mean this S variable does not have instances. We don't have to do a get component to find the right instance of the S. S only exists once in our project, so no matter where we are, we can access that as a one-time variable. Okay, let's set up some of that header stuff. Our first one will be our set and inspector variables. We don't have much. We're going to have a private float min dist, and it's going to be 0.1 f. That's going to be our minimum distance. Next, flog. Visual Studio does know about that data type. We want a line renderer object, and we're going to call it line. We want a game object, and we're going to call it _POI. And then we're going to create a list. Now this is just like an array, only it's going to be a list of vector3 objects. And with a list, we don't have to worry about using index values in the same way as we do an array, but it's very similar. We're going to name this list points. I'm going to get rid of all of these extra blank lines. Now we're going to use a C# script or a C# component called properties. We're going to create, notice that all of our variables that we created for this script are private. They're private to our script. We're not going to let people change them within Inspector. They're too important. But we're going to create a property that's going to allow some of these components to be available to other classes within our game. Now, it's our point of interest that we're going to open up. And we're going to create a getter, which allows other projects to get our point of interest. We'll return our _POI object to them when they ask for that. And then we're going to have a setter. And in our setter, we're going to do some logic. I'm getting pretty spread out here. If, whoops. We're going to set our _POI variable to whatever value was passed to our setter. If that value is not null, we're going to disable our line and set up a new position and add that point. Guys, work on it on your own. Try to finish it.
How can we have another opening bracket before start?
This one. That one I don't need.
Shouldn't the set be in the same game object?
Yeah.
A lot like,
So let me see. Okay. We're missing our first one. There we go. I'll indent. Lots of stringy code there. Makes it hard to see on the screen.
I thought a property it's just this when you had to get set. I thought it was just
No, you can get and set.
okay.
And so this one, I'm not sure why we're getting a get or set accessor expected. So it doesn't want, but theirs shows that set of brackets around it.
Yeah.
What's the add function?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm getting an error of the name add point. How it doesn't exist in the correct context. In your set,
Mhm. It's which one? Points.
add point at the bottom. It's not like that.
It shouldn't, because it's a method that we haven't created yet. So try working with it. All right, let's leave it there with errors. I hate it. I'll I'll make a video to finish it if you want to watch it, because you know I'm not going to leave it hanging. So at least we have some damage to our castle showing up. But that'll give me something fun to do over spring break. So I'll try and get that done over the weekend so it's pretty quick. So watch for an